Child care falling through the last minute when both parents have unmissable work obligations. So you have 4 parents involved and nobody can miss a day of work to take care of the kids.
Yeah. I mean, this is almost inevitable that childcare is going to fall through.
Yeah.
But you have a plan that you should plan that childcare is going to fall through and have a list of alternatives to turn to.
So a plan A would be to negotiate with the other parent. Let's take turns being the parent. There's 4 parents here. I'm assuming maybe the other parent doesn't have a partner, but let's say that both people are remarried and they have partners and we have 4 people here. Let's negotiate a schedule where we'll all take turns. When one of the children is ill and daycare won't take them because they're ill, somebody's got to stay home with them. We can rotate. That's plan A. If they go, nope, not doing that, I'll lose my job, then guess what? You have to be proactive. Hey, this is Diane Dirks.
And I'm Rick Voiles.
We've been working with co-parents in conflict for more than 2 decades. We've taught classes, written books, counseled parents, empathized, and agonized a few times to help people make sense of their complicated families.
We were talking one day, and it occurred to us that helping the most difficult cases comes down to one simple concept. Is one parent willing to let go of the tug-of-war rope, or is it worth it to hold on and fight?
So we invite you to take this journey with us each episode as we tackle the questions, should you hold on or let it go? Welcome to Co-Parent Dilemmas, where we give you practical solutions to those impossible co-parents. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Diane.
We are here again.
Yes.
Again and again and again.
I don't mind here again.
Okay.
Here's pretty good.
Yeah. Still at it. We haven't solved all of the co-parent problems in the world yet.
How many are left that we need to work on?
3,242,793.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm strapped in and ready. Let's go.
Until we do, we'll be on here till the day we die, addressing everybody's issues. So before we start doing my good news story, I hesitated on this one. It's good news because it has to do with podcasting.
Oh.
But it's not really good news to begin with. But anyway, an arrest has been made in connection with a murder in Australia from 27 years ago.
Whoa.
In the Port Cartwright Cliffs in Queensland, police have confirmed to Michelle Laurie, the host of Australian True Crime, that it was a listener to her podcast who provided information leading to the arrest last Thursday of Keith Lees, who's now age 72. Lees was the subject of an Australian true crime episode released on December 23rd. He had gone on the run after being questioned by police and has not been found since until such time the listener alerted police. So I don't know, the listener must have heard something on the podcast and said, hey, I think I know that guy. And they connected. Anyway, I hope there was doesn't say whether there was a big reward, but I just want to do a shout out to True Crime Podcasts because I'm kind of a junkie. True crime podcasts, that people listening to podcasts like that can be effective. So finally, this guy was arrested for murder because of a podcast listener. I don't think that's going to happen on our show because we don't talk about murder, but...
Well, emotional murder, maybe.
True. So anyway, that's sort of my semi-good. I mean, it's good news for the family, right? That they finally, after 27 years, they found this guy. It's sad that he lived 27 years in freedom, but he finally got caught because of a podcast listener.
Good job, podcaster.
All right. Do you remember when we did the critical skills series of our podcast? That was back in I think November, maybe. I'm looking here. Yes. In November, the first one was validating kids' feelings. In the last episode, we kind of expanded on that. Part 3 was why using a plan B works. And this episode, we're going to expand on that.
Okay.
And I think, in that episode, I do think I challenged our listeners. Do you remember that?
Yes, you did. Yep.
I said something I probably will regret later. There's not a plan B you can give me or there's not a situation you can give me that I don't have a plan B for it.
Right.
Well, Christa decided to challenge me.
Go, Christa. Yep.
And I'm going to let you read a portion of her email because it's somewhat long, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Hi, this is Christa, a bonus mom. I don't know what a bonus mom is.
Stepmom. It's another word for stepmother. Stepmother kind of has a bad connotation.
The evil stepmother kind of.
Yes. So bonus mom means I'm an extra mom.
Cool. Congratulations on that. I like that wordsmithing there, perspective change. I wanted to share some scenarios where it can feel like there's absolutely no plan B. These are real challenges parents face that often leave them feeling stuck. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what a plan B might look like for these situations. And then she lists several situations.
8, to be exact. 8. Not just 1, not just 2, but 8.
She's challenged you to 8 times. And then she says, I'd love to hear how you'd approach these situations. Thanks for letting me share. Christa.
And she's from Arlington, Texas. Thank you for listening, Christa. And thank you for challenging us. And I'm fine being challenged, but after reading her email, it made me think that maybe we needed to sort of explain again what we mean by a plan B.
Or explain more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in simple terms, plan A is the hope of negotiation.
Yep.
I want something, you want something, we want different things, but hopefully we can negotiate and come to some sort of settlement that's good for the children.
Mm-hmm.
And we all hope for that. But you and I both know that's usually plan A is oftentimes only available to cooperative parents.
Yes.
Who don't listen to our show.
Yep. And a plan A produces an action plan that we both agree on.
Right.
Yep.
So the plan B is when I know that my co-parent will not, cannot, doesn't want to negotiate with me, and they're going to hold their ground, and I'm going to hold my ground because we both think that what we want is best for the kids.
Right.
Plan B is a creative kind of way of thinking of what am I going to do on my own to meet my children's needs when my co-parent will not participate in negotiation.
Right.
And if there's no answer to that and it's critical, plan C should be court. Plan C is litigation. C for court, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that these 8 things that Christa listed gives us enough information because they're very generalized, and she doesn't really say what she wants or necessarily in each one and what the negotiated outcome could be to elicit a plan A, so that then we could, do you know what I'm saying, Rick?
Yeah, I would at least want to know, given the situation you've described, Christa, what is the outcome you want to see? And that would be your plan A. Once you give us your outcome, and then we can assume you're not going to get that, then we could identify some plan Bs.
Right. So, but I think we can talk about it in terms of our dragon method. And for those of you who haven't been listening for a while, there's a book out there called I Am Non-Impossible, in which we outline the dragon method of communication. And the dragon method is not to necessarily improve negotiation, but it's to help you walk through a mental process of how do I get to a plan B. Ultimately, you negotiate. But the beauty of the dragon method is before I even get to negotiation, I already know what I'm going to do if the other parent refuses or says no.
Yes.
And I can do it without that parent's permission.
The N in dragon is negotiate. So all the other letters are preparing you for that negotiation. And whatever the outcome is, you're ready, which means you're ready for your plan B.
So when you go into negotiation and somebody says no for the purpose of making you mad, you don't get mad because you've already thought through what you're going to do when they say no.
Yep.
So it's a peaceful way for you to negotiate. Does that make sense?
And empowers you.
Right. Absolutely.
It's hard to lose a negotiation.
So I'll put the link to our book in the show notes. And you can look at that there. If you become a VIP, a Patreon VIP, and subscribe for a year, you get a copy of the book. But we're going to go over this real quickly here. The D in Dragon is dilemma. So first of all is outline the dilemma. What is the dilemma?
Which she has.
She kind of has. I think if you were going to do it on paper yourself, you would be more detailed. And when we get to her dilemmas, we'll talk about that further. The reframe, consider the alternative explanations for why your co-parent's words or behavior might not be what you assume, right? Sort of explore how might I be projecting onto that parent things that aren't really there. How might I be missing their true intention? How might I try to understand a little bit better their point of view or why they might be coming to this point of view? That just kind of helps you reframe the conflict a little bit. If you just run with your assumptions, he just or she just always wants to fight me, and you just go with that all the time, then you may be missing a lot of good things that you could use in negotiation.
Yes.
The A in Dragon is anxiety. Why am I so anxious about this? And kind of explore that. Is this more about my anxiety than my child's best interests?
Right.
Maybe my child's not anxious about this at all. I'm very anxious that, he wants to take the cupcakes to school for her birthday. I want to be the one. I need to be the one. I need to show the other teachers that I'm the parent, where the child's sitting there thinking, I don't care. Don't bring them. I don't care. Right?
Yeah.
I know that's an overly simplified example, but just for the sake of example, it could very well be driven more by your anxiety than your child's needs. The G is goal. What is the goal for your child? What does your child really need in all this? The goal in that situation is not to get the cupcakes. What's the goal in that situation I just gave?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Create Harmony is a podcast about setting an intentional rhythm and savoring God's blessings. In this place, we'll take a few minutes to celebrate everyday joys and remind ourselves how to notice goodness that is all around us. During the winter at Create Harmony, we shift our focus to all things cozy and snuggly. And while our days are shorter and darker, we stay attuned to the things that help us reset and restore. At the start of this new year, our podcast is filled with winter self-care as well as ways to declutter and clear your mind. Check it out.
Well, the goal would be to make sure that the child is, well, I guess it would be not to embarrass my child in front of all my...
To have a birthday that it doesn't include conflict. Those
right.
Parents of all things, right?
Yep.
So the goal is for your child to not have any conflict, not to get the cupcakes.
Yep.
And if you can think of it in that way, it won't matter to you. Yeah, let him take the cupcakes. Who cares? As long as my child doesn't experience co-parent conflict on his or her birthday, that's all that really matters. So you really have to hone in on what do I think my child really needs here?
Yes.
And I'm talking about something really silly and simple, but even when you apply that to a new school, what is your anxiety and what is the goal? The goal is for my child to get a good education. What's my anxiety? Well, he won't go to Harvard. Well, do I need my child to go to Harvard, or does my child really need to go? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sometimes we have to change our goals for our children because they're less about their goals and more about our goals for them. Right. And then what is opportunity? That's the O in Dragon. Formulate an alternative plan. That's where we get to the plan B. Before I negotiate this with the other parent, what am I going to do if and when they say, nope, I'm doing it my way. I don't care what you say.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do all on your own without the permission of the other co-parent to give your child some of what he or she needs? Maybe you can't give them all, but some of what they need so that they can be okay. And we've talked many times, sometimes that's just a conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid my child will think I don't care if I don't bring the cupcakes. So, okay, if that's what your worry is, sit down with your child and say, hey, listen, your dad wants to bring the cupcakes. I know he's been doing it the last 3 years and I've never done it. And it would be nice if I'd be able to do it. But you know what? It doesn't matter who brings the cupcakes. I'd rather you have a day without conflict.
Yep.
Having that conversation goes a long, long way to managing your own anxiety about the situation, but also making sure your child understands and is okay with, yeah, okay, no big deal. I know my mom still cares about me, and I don't need her to bring the cupcakes for me to be okay. That's actually a good lesson for the child. So a conversation sometimes is the only thing you can do, but it can be one of the most valuable things that you do, depending on the situation, right? And providing that conversation is not trying to turn your kid against the other parent.
You don't do that.
Yeah, you don't say, well, there he goes again, your dad having to do everything and I don't get to do anything, but you'll be fine. That is not the conversation I'm talking about.
I'm not fine, but you'll be fine.
And the N in Dragon is negotiation.
Now you're ready. Yep.
Yeah. Decide what boundaries you need to create and maintain with your plan B in mind, and then present a request, knowing that a yes or no isn't consequential to your peace.
Correct. Or your child's need.
If they say yes, that's great. Icing on the cake. We all get something of what we want. If they say no and dig their heels in, what often happens, Rick, is they say no, dig their heels in. You say, okay, thanks for considering my negotiation, and you move on and do what you want to do. And that might leave them dumbfounded because they didn't get their reward of your upset.
That's right.
And then you may be shocked that they come around and say, well, now that I've thought about it, I think we should probably do something different. Oh, really? Because you didn't hand them your $50 upset, right?
Yes.
You left them with an empty bag because there was nothing to react to.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that will always happen, but occasionally we see that happen because sometimes the no is really meant to have an effect on you before they get to their yes.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Hey, listeners, the response to the daily devotional for frustrated co-parents has been a pleasant surprise. The feedback I'm getting is that it helps to put co-parent issues in a biblical context and provides an additional and more peaceful challenge to do right by the children. If you've not yet subscribed, you can do so by following the link in the show notes. An option for a 7-day free trial is available, so you can test it out and see if this new start to your day gives you a little more peace about being a non-impossible. Yep. So let's go back now to Christa's email. We're not going to go through all 8 of these because I think as we were talking about these prior to the show, we kind of noticed there's a pattern in all of these. Yep. These are life situations, Christa, and it's clear you feel powerless in them.
Correct.
She feels stuck. And as the bonus mom, you do feel powerless because you're not part of the court order. You don't have any power. The only power you have is the influence you have over your spouse or with your spouse. And sometimes that creates marital issues, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you can see they're clearly doing something that you wouldn't do, and you want them to change how they're interacting with the co-parent. But they're not doing it. Yeah, I've tried that before, and this is what happens. So I'm not going to do that. Or I'm willing to give up more because fighting for it sometimes is worse for me and the kids.
Yep.
So oftentimes spouses, I'm not saying all, and Christa, I'm certainly not saying this is where you are. It's just sometimes it's hard to have a spouse in one ear and an ex-spouse in the other
ear.
And you're trying to manage both of those. So Christa, just be careful that you're not another voice in the ear that's only making it harder, right?
Yeah.
So if we take the number one thing, her first thing says co-parent conflicts about major decisions like where the kids should go to school when neither parent will budge. So she's apparently witnessing her partner and the co-parent fighting about this major decision and neither one of them will budge. Well, my first thought was the court order should make accommodations for major decisions, right? Who right. has the ability to make a final say about education?
Yes.
Plan A is the negotiation, right?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they've tried that. Nobody's budging. So what's plan B here, Rick?
Follow the parenting plan.
Yeah. Follow the court order. And, Christa might say, well, if we follow the court order, that means our child has to go to the worst school in the district, and that's just going to be hard on our child.
Yes.
What can they do as a plan B, though, without the permission of the other parent to help that child have a better education?
They could get tutors. They could do extra schooling. They could teach where they could homeschool. They could do a lot of different things.
In addition to this child, if the other parent has final say and says, no, they're going to go in this school because it's right next door to my house and that's what I want, and I don't care what you say, then how do you make that a better educational experience? Go to the school, talk with the teachers, become an involved parent. And it, based on what she said later on in her email and some of these others, I understand you're very busy, you have jobs, you might not be able to get involved to the level that you would like to, but still there are things that you can do. I want you to explore, how can I get involved at this particular school in a way that enhances my child's experience there?
Yes.
And she doesn't say what's wrong with the school that the other parent wants. If I had more information, we could dig deeper into that, but I don't think we need to, right?
No, what we need, Christa, is what is the outcome you want to see? That would tell us your plan A.
Right.
And then we could talk about, all right, let's assume you don't get what you wanted. Let's now develop a plan B because you didn't get what you want. We need to know how you wanted to see this.
Right.
And
she may say it's an unsafe school, which that can be scary. They've had numerous problems there with kids bringing guns to school, or there's a lot of drugs in the school or whatever. And I can understand, wow, that might be where you really have a serious conversation with your child, or you go to the school and you talk about their safety plans and you get some feeling of sense of security other than what you read in the newspaper or online about this particular school. Find out, what really is happening there to sort of make yourself feel better. But bottom line, you could choose plan C. If your child goes in that school and your child's grades are failing and, a school shooting happens or something, and you just say, okay, that's it, we're going to court. Of course, if your child's safety is compromised somehow, or you feel like they just can't thrive, plan C is always available. But she says later on in her email that they don't have resources for
funds
for plan C on any of these, it sounds like. So that tells me your plan B has to be what works.
Yep.
So get creative about a plan B on that one. Child care falling through the last minute when both parents have unmissable work obligations. So you have 4 parents involved and nobody can miss a day of work to take care of the kids.
Yeah. I mean, this is almost inevitable that childcare is going to fall through.
Yeah.
But you have a plan that you should plan that childcare is going to fall through and have a list of alternatives to turn to.
Yeah. So a plan A would be to negotiate with the other parent. Let's take turns being the parent. There's 4 parents here. I'm assuming maybe the other parent doesn't have a partner, but let's say that both people are remarried and they have partners and we have 4 people here. Let's negotiate a schedule where we'll all take turns. When one of the children is ill and daycare won't take them because they're ill, somebody's got to stay home with them. We can rotate. That's plan A. If they go, nope, not doing that, I'll lose my job, then guess what? You have to be proactive. Plan B is ahead of time, have a list of ill or sick child care, or whatever they call it, of people that are willing to do that. And that might take some effort up front, but it'll be way worth it in the moment that you are able to do that. Much like you can't always rely on your cars. What do you do if your car breaks down?
Right. Yes.
You have somebody in the neighborhood that's retired that would drive you to work if you needed that. It's always good if it's that critical. If your job depends on it, then you better think about this ahead of time so that you're not stuck one day and losing your job. Another thing to do would be to call or talk to your supervisor. Explain, my co-parent is not cooperative. My co-parent will not fill in the gaps for me. Unfortunately, it has to be me. What do you need me to do on those days?
Yep.
Can I work from home on those days? Is there a possibility? Is there somebody that I can make sure gets my job and understands that can be my fill-in? And if your boss goes, no, 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 if you don't show up, if you're 5 minutes late, you're fired, then I'd get a different job because your
Yes.
lifestyle doesn't allow you to have that kind of job, right?
Correct. Right. And
So-
anybody with a disabled child faces these kind of plan B
Exactly.
situations. Yep.
Right.
So one of the things, Christa, the plan B and the childcare falling through at the last minute, your response can't be, well, this shouldn't have happened.
Right. That's not a plan A.
No.
Yeah. Let's see. An estranged parent-child relationship that feels impossible to repair due to past trauma. Okay, we've done several episodes recently. That's a long game issue. That's not a plan A, plan B.
No.
You're not going to negotiate with the other parent, the estranged. You might, if the estrangement has to do with something like your prior alcoholism or something like that, you might involve the other parent to help you re-engage with the child. But a lot of times these estrangements post-divorce have to do with the influence of the other parent over the child.
Yep.
So we can assume take plan A right off of the table because they're not going to negotiate that with you. So what is your plan B? Well, it's everything we talk about with regard to alienated children. Or
yes.
Are you part of the estrangement? Is this justified alienation? Is there something you've done that's pushed your child away? So I don't think that situation is even a question of a plan B. It's, you know what I'm saying, Rick?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But plan B is to do everything you can on your end that doesn't require the permission of the other parent to make sure your child knows that you're not abandoning them. You're not going anywhere. You're going to hang in there even when they decide to stay estranged from you. So, Christa, I worry that you think a plan B gets you what you want.
No.
Plan B takes care of your child.
Yes.
And your child's needs, which means sometimes your child needs you to say, I get it. Sorry, you're going through it. If I don't get to see you for the next 6 months, I'm thinking about you. I love you. I will text you and let you know that I'm still here for you. But I understand how hard this is for you. That's a plan B that hurts like heck.
Yes.
To execute. But nevertheless, it's a plan B to achieve your child's needs that has nothing to do with asking permission from the other parent. Here's one. She says a co-parent decides to move far away with the child, but there's no money for immediate legal action. That's assuming that court is plan A.
Right.
If I had the money, I would take immediate legal action. Again, is that what your child needs? I don't know. I don't know enough about the situation. If you said my parent has kidnapped my child
and
will not let me see the child, then of course court is plan A, because that's interference with custody and all that good stuff, right? You get an attorney and you do what you got to do.
Well, it's your first idea. It's not a plan A because you don't have to have permission to sue.
No.
Other parent.
But again, that's a worry about child safety. So anytime it's a worry about child safety.
Go right to see. Yep.
Right. But even when we say safety, sometimes we're talking about emotional safety, which is it's not easily remedied by the court, which sometimes the best thing to do there is a conversation with the child, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if a parent moves away with the child and has permission of the court to do it, but you just don't like it, there are many, many plan Bs. Plan A would be what? Please come back. And the other parent says, okay.
That's a plan A. Yeah.
That's plan A. Or let's negotiate, more time with me, since you've moved away. But if that parent says, nope, you get Christmas and summer, that's it, and you don't like that. There are many, many ways to get your child what he needs from you without the permission of the other parent. And again, if the parent won't let you communicate, the parent won't let you see your child, those are all interferences that the court almost has to get involved with. But she's saying we don't have the money to fight it. Well, if you don't have the money to fight it, you do everything else in your power to develop a relationship with your child, or at least say to them, I'm not always going to be able to spend the money to come see you or have you
Right.
come see me. But there's so many ways these days. Let's FaceTime. Let's do a
Yes.
Zoom meeting. Let's text every day. Let's use WhatsApp. There's numerous ways. Let's play a game together online and have a good time that way. It's not, plan Bs are never ideal.
No.
They're
Or
not
convenient.
meant to be ideal.
Nope.
They're meant to get your child what he or she needs and give you some peace about it.
Yeah, I think if I was going to expand our understanding of Plan B, I would say more. It sounds more like what we're being asked for here is can you tell me a strategy? Can you tell me a winning strategy to get what I want? Yeah. And that is not a Plan B.
Well, this isn't about getting you what you want.
Correct. That's why it's not Plan B.
It's about giving the child what they need.
The
children what they need. And
yes.
Even then, we can argue about their needs.
Yep.
I mean, it's the big, giant $1 million question in the courts is what is in the child's best interest?
Right.
Well, we don't agree on that most of the time. We can agree on a lot of things, but when it comes right down to it, is it in the child's best interest to go to school A or school B? What if school A and school B are comparable?
Yeah.
Does it matter?
Does it matter?
What's in the child's best interest is for mom and dad to not fight about it. Oftentimes.
Correct.
That's often what's most in their best interest, not the thing you're fighting about, but the fact that you're having a fight. And how am I going to eliminate the fight? Come up with a plan B that satisfies my peace. So it's why our book is called I Am Not Impossible, a 12-week journey to co-parenting peace.
Yes.
Not a 12-week journey to get everything you want.
To win.
Yeah, because that's not what it's all about. Her final thing, number 8, was feeling completely burned out as a parent, but unable to take a break due to constant responsibilities. I don't know if she's talking about herself or her partner, but you should never have more responsibilities. There's so many responsibilities that you can never take a break. Something's got to give.
It will give eventually.
If you persist in that path, you will get sick.
Yes.
You will blow up.
Yes.
You will compromise your values and do everything you said you would never do. You'll have an affair. You'll turn to alcohol. You'll develop some sort of addiction because it soothes this overly responsible person that you are. So, Christa, whether it's you or your partner, I highly recommend you sit down and look at your lifestyle. And there's always an option.
Always.
If maybe you're a people pleaser. Maybe you take on too much at work and you don't need to. Maybe it's time to talk to your boss and say, hey, you're paying me for 2 jobs and it's about time you get me help. If that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. Maybe it's your choice of career. Well, I'm in a sales career and I travel 300 days a year and whatever. Okay. Is that serving your life? Maybe it's not. Maybe there's a lesser job you can take that will bring you some peace. Yep. At any time, Rick, that I hear this kind of statement, you know what it tells me?
What?
It doesn't matter how much free time you attain, you're still going to feel this way because it's not about that.
True.
If your co-parent says, hey, I'm going to come take the kids for 2 hours and you go, oh, yay, finally I have 2 hours to sleep. That doesn't mean you wake up and your situation is fixed.
No.
It's a mindset. It's an attitude. It's a matter of prioritization of what's important in your life. So I would sit down with my partner and say, okay, something's got to give, because if it doesn't, we're not going to be able to continue. Nobody can live that way.
Yep.
Where it's just go, 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 go. You can live that way for a time.
For a time. Yep.
It's exhausting. And you'll look back and go, how in the world did I ever do that? But you should not ever settle into this is just my life. And I'm unable to take a break due to constant responsibilities.
I had a friend one time who was always push. And it was almost be like clockwork, but inevitably his back would go out.
Mm-hmm.
And he would be flat of his back, could not move for about a week.
Yeah.
And, sometimes if you don't make the choice, your body will make it for you.
It's very interesting. During COVID back in 2020, I had a client who was very much type A and had his own business and just couldn't stop, regardless of the weeks of therapy that we were doing, where I was saying, it's not going to be you got to give, you got to do something. No. If I drop one of these plates I'm spinning, the whole world's going to fall apart.
Right.
Well, he got COVID.
Oh, wow.
To the point where he couldn't see his children or his wife. And he was in a room all by himself for like a week. And he came out of that transformed.
Cool.
I thought, oh gosh, he's going to lay in there and worry. What happened was he finally realized he had permission to rest. All of his clients, his wife, his children, nobody expected anything of him.
Yes.
And he said it was the best week of sleep I ever got.
Nice.
And then finally we had some things to talk about. Excellent. Because he actually had to have the experience of being so sick that nobody wanted to be around him.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, COVID was a big deal. So he didn't, and thankfully he recovered. But when he did, he was a different person. He was like, wow. Not only did he feel back then, COVID was serious stuff that you feel like you cheated death when you got it and recovered. Right. But that it informed him that this is what I really need, is to not feel so responsible for the whole world.
Right. And the world won't fall apart.
The world did not fall apart. His clients were like completely like, oh yeah, man, I get it. Glad you're okay. And life goes on. But that week was transformative. So Christa, it kind of sounds like you're talking about yourself here. I'm not sure, but if you are, sit down and have a heart-to-heart with your partner and say, okay, something's got to give, and maybe reflect on your own needs to be overly responsible.
Yes.
Because oftentimes that's a perception not rooted in truth.
Yes.
I don't have to be responsible for everybody, nor does everybody want me to be responsible for them.
makes me wonder if Christa's a therapist by trade.
What are you saying, Rick? Therapists aren't like that. I know you work with one and are married to one, but we're not like that.
No, because you've made healthy decisions to take care of yourself. Yes.
Well, and when I retired, I realized that. Wow. Everybody just kind of said, okay, see ya. And I was a little bit hurt at first. Like, you don't need me that much.
Nobody missed me.
There was this awesome, like, lightening of the load. Like, oh, because I built something and handed over, and now I have no responsibility. And now I'm doing fun things. So it didn't take me long.
Good. 5
minutes, maybe.
Good. Yep.
All right. I hope that makes it clear to everybody about Plan B and what the purpose is.
A little clearer. Yeah, hopefully.
Right?
Yeah.
Plan B is not a winning strategy.
No.
It's a coping mechanism, really, for peace. Okay. Thank you, Christa, for your email. And I hope that helps you somewhat. And invite anybody else who has a plan, that has a situation where they just can't think of a plan B.
Yep.
But I bet you if you think really hard and listen to this again, you'll come up with one.
And yeah, I appreciate Christa picking up the challenge. That's good.
Yes.
It's a listener that says, all right, I'll participate. And here you go. And it gave us a chance to offer some more clarity about Plan B. So thank you,
she was
Christa.
very kind. She didn't say, aha, I've got a gotcha here. She was just like, please help. So I hope that helped. All right. We'll talk to everybody next week.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. The information contained in this podcast is generic. It must not be misconstrued as constituting legal or psychological advice. Decisions relevant to any specific individual, family system, or case require the direct evaluation of skilled, child-centered professionals.